Go. Good morning. This is Lauren with RW Business Solutions and the Mindful Business Life podcast. Every Wednesday, midweek motivation, midweek mindfulness with Journey to the Heart, daily devotional, where Lindsay and I go through and just kind of give you some additional love and support to get you just going for the rest of the week. And so, Lindsay, I'm always so happy to be here with you. And if you would like to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Lindsay Warwick. I am a yoga teacher and Reiki master of Lindsay Warwick Yoga and Healing. I also have a Spotify podcast and YouTube channel, The Conduit with Lindsay Warwick. So check that out as well. Hosting top of Tuesdays, so an spiritual interview series. So definitely check that out. And happy to be here this morning with Lauren discussing Journey to the Heart.
Absolutely. Such a great little book to have. I know it's been kind of like every time we do a topic, it's exactly what we need, right? It's kind of right in the flow with where we are in life. So, and so what we do is one of us usually reads it. We offset every other week. So Lindsay, you want to go ahead and open up this week?
Yeah, absolutely. Today's reading is Honor the Process of Spiritual Growth, January 19th. Don't wait for things to change. The change you're waiting for will come from within you. Start to nurture yourself through each stage of your evolution, your spiritual growth. Waiting for things to change is a tiresome, irritating process, but embracing our own emotions and growth is exciting. It can become a positive challenge that turns life into a vital, interactive process. The moment we surrender to this process, something happens. If we feel an emotion, an old, stuck, hardened chunk of emotion, or a new one that has arisen along the path, we can release it and the belief attached to it. I am unlovable. Life has to be hard. I deserve to be punished. When we release the emotion and the belief, our body shifts. It detoxifies, changes. A new lesson then emerges. We discover we can choose joy, freedom, forgiveness. The lessons that can emerge are as unique as our old beliefs. We wrestle with each new lesson as it grows and appears in many different forms, on the job, in love relationships, in all the arenas of our lives. Soon we come to a new conclusion about ourselves, about life. I am lovable. I am creatively feeling what God and the universe have to offer me. I am free. I can bring my full essence and energy before the world. Then when we change, when our beliefs change, our lives change. The change we've been waiting for happens, but it happens as a result of our own evolutionary process. Not because we waited for something or someone in our lives outside ourselves to change. Trust this process of change, honor it, respect it, revere it. You no longer have to wait for something to happen. Something is happening right now within you. Welcome the changes that can be yours. Let life help you as you take an active part in creating these changes. Let the process become living, interactive, and magical. Honor the process of spiritual growth.
Yeah, so it's funny because like the talks kind of like run into each other, or the conversation sometimes. And so I want to talk about how, like, in the beginning, it says don't wait for things to change. The change you're waiting for will come from within you. And so my guest on Monday on the business aspect of things, she left us with this quote, and it was like, it's perfect for today. The future enters into us in order to transform itself in us long before it happens. And that's right. And so, I just was like, oh, again, those connections. So just remembering that change does happen from within. It's a mental process. You have to kind of like get on that page mentally, energetically, start believing in it, start seeing it, start speaking it into existence, and then you start to manifest it. So
Yeah, I love that too. And also like, oh God, I love that quote. I gotta listen to that podcast from Monday. That is a beautiful quote. Mwah, love it. Um, that's like sort of like that quote is like the idea of the last thing that you see on the tree is the fruit.
yes.
So like you're planting these seeds, and the last thing is the fruit, right?
Oh.
And so like trusting the process, like trusting that, the change is happening from within, and then nurturing yourself on each stage. It's like that other quote that's like, until I knew better, did I do better?
Mm.
It's crazy because like last night, legit could not go to sleep until like 1 a.m. I did this Rose Priestess shamanic mentorship last summer. It was very intense work. And so I, have all these tools in my spiritual toolkit now. And I was doing some intense journaling on some experiences that happened. And it's just like nourishing myself through each stage of my evolution, like seeing how I'm handling situations differently today than I did, like months ago. So definitely honoring the process of spiritual growth and not expecting myself to be somewhere that I'm not at yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the gentle reminder, from this is waiting for things to change is tiresome, irritating. So it's like, releasing what we want and allowing everything to come to us is so important. And it's hard because when we really want something, we overthink about it, or we just keep clinging to it because we want it so badly, and it causes us to be stressed and depressed, especially when it doesn't manifest quickly. And so just putting that gentle reminder out here that when you want things to change, you do the mind body spirit work, and then you do release it. And I think we talked about that last Wednesday, releasing and flowing and allowing the universe to help you, or allowing life, God to let your life reveal itself to you. And so, we know as master manifestors that, we could wish for something and it could take 5 years, and then there are things we can wish for and it takes 3 weeks, and there's no answer to why things manifest quicker than others. It's just more what's in alignment for you, how you get into alignment for the things that you want, and appreciate what you have while you're waiting as well.
Yeah. And I think also like the speed at which you're manifesting things, like your inner being, your vibration has, like you mentioned, has to be like in alignment with what you're manifesting.
Right.
And I even listened to like an Abraham Hicks recording yesterday as I was driving from teaching a yoga class to go take a yoga class. And it was like, okay, if I'm focusing on what I don't want, I'm still going to manifest that because that's all I'm thinking about.
Right.
So in order to manifest, it's getting your inner being and your vibration and in that alignment with what you really want. And so I love, embracing our own emotions, and growth is exciting and it becomes a positive challenge. So like, for me, like studying the law of attraction, it's like even if I'm feeling negative feelings, like that's showing that there's an area of growth for me.
Right.
And so turning it into that positive challenge for me is like, okay, well, how do I take a shitty situation and look at all the positive? It's, like we were texting yesterday, it's like, okay, finding the gratitude. So then we're listing a gratitude list and turning this stuff, it's a vital means like life-giving, like life dependent.
Yeah.
For me, spirituality and turning this shitty shit into positive stuff is life dependent for me. It's vital. And that's what it's saying. It's a vital interactive process. So you're like constantly interacting, like ego, mind, and heart self, like trying to get them the heart, the brain and heart coherence. I don't know if you've ever like studied that stuff. It's so amazing. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, like, touching back on the fact that, yesterday when we were talking and it was like, gotta find gratitude in the moment, and because it's gonna fill your soul. And so it's, also learning to not control, but really learning to catch yourself when you're going down the rabbit holes and using the tools you have outside of you, inside of you, to help steer you in those positive directions. I definitely know when I have like cranky days where I'll mentally catch myself and be like, why are you being like this? I know it's a hard day. Like the internal dialogue, creating that positive, that reinforcing dialogue within yourself to help catch you on those days where you're rough. Because I say it all the time, like, yeah, you might have friends, you might have family, but at the end of the day, you really have yourself. And you always have yourself to turn to. And so it's so important to create a positive, or not necessarily positive, but a really truthful, mindful inner dialogue around keeping yourself in check in these moments where you're overwhelmed by thought because things you want to manifest, you're overcome by grief or sadness, or you're just having a blah day energetically. And so I think it's really important, to like it said, turn it into a positive challenge, so to say, to catch yourself when you're slipping. And I'm a big fan of that. It takes a while to kind of get there, but I definitely like catch myself and I'll be like, nah, girl. And I've talked to myself just like that. We're not doing that today. And I'm like, oh, we're not doing that today. Are we doing today? Then it's like, you're gonna get it together. I know you're having a rough day, but like there's things to be grateful for. Maybe you need to go for a walk, go do some deep breathing. And so very, very big, because like I do have an NLP certification, so we do a lot of deep mental work. When I coach people, most people don't know I have NLP, but I do have the NLP. And so like,
what's an NLP? Tell us.
Neural linguistics programming. So it's about like real deep subconscious work, so to say, and being able to like find the absolute root of a process or a reason or a cause for like like who you are and your mental state. And so practicing that constantly has taught me to have this like internal dialogue with myself of like catching myself when I'm slipping and supporting myself. I'm not mean to myself. I'm just like, we don't want that kind of attitude. We want to be positive. We want to try to keep ourselves as balanced as possible. And so I just want to encourage everyone, start creating a dialogue with yourself, talk to yourself, become your best friend and your support system in those hard days. And I promise you, you can make it through anything when you know that you have yourself wholeheartedly to rely on.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you talk to yourself, because like I do all the time. I also talk to my dog, like, because I mean, yeah. Like yesterday, I literally was like, every day I'm like, I just love my dog so much because I can tell him so much, and he never tells anyone any of my secrets.
It's true.
But I love this. Of course, this entry for today is so aligned. It does take a positive challenge and effort to notice the ego and let you to notice like the negative self-talk and be like, no, and choose differently. And then the moment that we surrender to the process, which surrender to me also includes like, it's okay that you F that up. Like, you are a spiritual being having in a meat sack, having a human experience. And so like surrendering to the process. It's a process. Like, we are constantly evolving. So, but when we do have that moment of surrender, then something happens. Absolutely. That's when the change comes, because like the change starts with awareness and surrender. And having the courage and awareness to notice any emotions is, I think, a sign of being human and a sign of having strength. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And knowing that we can release it and the belief attached to it. So, like, taking those negatives and turning them into positives. And once we can release emotion, because like we store emotions in the body, right? It literally is, she's saying, you know, when we release the emotion and the belief, our body shifts.
Mm.
Literally, that's why last night, like, I taught a private session, and then I was like, I have to go to yoga, because I was like in my feels yesterday from like the full moon and everything. And as soon as like I could move my body and breathe, like everything shifted for me, because we hold emotions like within the body. So I love that. You know, it detoxifies and changes, and then looking at the lesson. And that was the whole point of my journal work last night too, is like finding the spiritual lessons and the challenges, life challenges. And I used to have a lot of victim mentality like years ago, like, oh, this is happening to me. Why is this happening to me? But now it's like, this is everything is orchestrated by the divine, happening for me. So it's like, what is the lesson here? Like, why, what can I learn and how can I grow from that? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I totally say, you know what I mean, all the time. And it reminds me of my like late grandfather. He'd always be like, no, what I mean? So like, maybe he's coming in. Eugene Warwick. Yeah, heck yeah. He was
I love it.
amazing person.
Oh, grandpa.
Yeah, know what I mean?
I know what you mean. That's cute. Yeah, so last night, I'm sitting with a business coaching client, and I just got the call because I always do mind, body, spirits work with my business coaching. And so we did a little gentle yoga session. And what came through was, yeah. So what came through was surrender. And so we did, like last night, we would inhale, bring the arms up, and then we would like fold and surrender. And it was like surrendering to love and surrendering to ourselves. And of course, with the full moon, that's actually perfect for releasing. And so, just taking that pause to like, just surrender to here and now, and to, like it says, your emotions, and just really connecting with yourself on those off days, off moments. I was exhausted yesterday, and I was just like, let's just do this yoga practice. And the surrender came through, and it was like, I was surrendering to myself and the fact that I'm tired and I'm working a lot and I'm working very hard, and like, I'm trying to grow and expand and holding a lot of space. And it's like, you have to acknowledge, like, not even just the emotions, but how much you're really fucking doing in life, and how much you're really how much space you're really holding. And it's like, just be here, be present, like, go surrender to all that you want, all that is, and just be like proud of yourself and find gratitude for yourself and all the things that you're doing. And I think that's going to help a lot with letting go of anything that's holding you back, and allowing the spiritual practice to really transpire in you wholeheartedly. And so just, you can surrender in any way. My favorite is to get on the yoga mat and to do some sun salutation, do anything, on the mat. And just, I always tell my students when we're in like child's pose, like, surrender to here and now, surrender to whatever it is that is holding you back, surrender to your feelings, let go, cry, like scream, like, it doesn't matter, just surrender to the moment. And so I love that I did that last night, and then we're talking about it today, because again, it always seems to, like, life always seems to show up in the way that we're talking about. And so
yeah, I love that. And then, also having the ability to choose, like, we discovered that we can choose joy, freedom, forgiveness. And it's like this old saying or question that I used to ask myself, like, do I want to be right, or do I want to be happy? And so, like, becoming happy and being in a peaceful state has been has taken full precedent over being right anymore. Like, I don't need to be right. I'm gonna always try to do
Right.
what's right, but I don't need to be right. But yeah, I think there's such a huge shift that happens when you realize that you are the creator of your own reality and that you can choose to like shift your perspective and, you know, choose joy and freedom and forgiveness. um
Well,
I love it.
yeah. And I think that, like, kind of touching back on what you said is, you got to be coachable. We're always the teacher and the student. So you've got to
Mm,
be coachable. You can't always think you're right. You can't always think, my way or the highway. You have to be willing to compromise and to listen and to grow and to expand and to be teachable, to be coachable. Um, because we shift in and out of who we were and who we're coming to be. And so, like, our thought process change and the way we see things changes. And so it's very important to be willing to be coachable, so you can then learn the lessons and then move forward into the new being that you're becoming. But ultimately, you're still becoming the being you're meant to come, but you're gonna have to go through it 6, 7, 8 times sometimes until
sometimes.
you become coachable, till you become teachable, until you let the wall down and say, okay, I'm really ready to receive. And so I really like that, like, just make sure you're being open to
Yeah,
perspective, so you can allow the spiritual process to happen, because spiritual growth is really about elevating your perception and your perceptual levels. And so being able to see clearly, hear clearly, feel clearly. So that's a big thing with the spiritual practices and growth, is just being open to that change, to the new ideas that you need to embody.
I think coachability is also synonymous with humility.
Yeah.
Like the whole purpose of the spirit of the process of spiritual growth is humility. And I know you mentioned your favorite place to go is like the yoga mat.
Yeah.
Same. So this is kind of funny. The other day I took an Ashtanga yoga class, which is
My favorite.
it's hard. Okay, it's hard. I started with Ashtanga like years ago and I hadn't done it in so long. And like, let me tell you, this class like destroyed my ego. Like, I was like, oh my God. Like, there are some postures like I don't know if anatomically I'll ever get into, but like I've been practicing since 2009, teaching since 2012, so 10 years. And it just had me like all these thoughts, like, you know, those negative beliefs that came up, like I'm not a good yoga teacher because I can't do all this crazy stuff with my legs and my limbs. And I had to let that go. And like I took the class with a friend and I was like, God, I was having a great day until I took that class. And I told the teacher too, like, that class destroyed me. And he was like, oh, I was like, no, but like I got to turn that into, okay, like that's why I love yoga, because it's a spiritual practice. It's not a spiritual, like, it's not, you just don't arrive there. Like, it's a journey, literally. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to turn this into goals. Like, so now I'm going to go to Ashtanga every week and I'm going to learn the primary series all over again. But it was so humbling. And I feel like that's what the spiritual growth is, humbling. It's
Oh,
like, all these ideas and all the ways of being that you thought you were like start to shift and change, and you just become more humble, and also you're elevated. Just like you said, it's all about like elevating yourself, but it's also it's like elevating your heart, but like minimizing your ego.
oh yeah.
So that was funny. Now it's like a standing joke with my friend. I was like, I'm gonna do yoga tonight, but not Ashtanga, because I don't want to cry. But like I cried. Like on my way home, I was like, oh my God. But like I love it. You
If you
know, it's
want
part of
something
it.
that will ultimately truly change your life, yoga and
Yeah.
and the physical practice. The yoga has multiple limbs, and everyone thinks yoga is the asana physical practice only, because that's what so many are, that's what's so big in the industry, is seeing that. But yoga does have multiple branches to it. But ultimately, if you really want to put yourself in check in life, and you really want to
Just do Ashtanga.
go to like a power yoga class, go to any yoga class. Even the gentle stuff will have you changing, but it's the harder stuff that really pushes you. I remember, man, I'm coming up on my 5th year as a teacher, and my teacher, we would practice, and everybody's faces like real hard. Everyone's in it, and they're trying to be in this pose and in this moment. And I just would always remember Mary Beth just being like, how about you smile during the hard poses? And it became a real important thing for me, actually, was to smile and find gratitude when we're holding, um high lunge for 45 minutes, or warrior 2 for an hour. It's just like, and what I thought was an hour was really like 40 seconds. But when the quad's burning, you're over it. And what happened was, she was right. Like, that smile deepened my practice and my physical body. So whenever I would smile, I would get deeper in the pose, and I would hold it longer, and I would hold it more gracefully, more peacefully. And so that practice teaches you just so many different things about yourself, about the world around you, because a lot of students don't know this. I'm sure, I would hope most yogis know it. But ultimately, the physical practice of yoga, which is asana, is a representation of life itself, and you moving through the difficulties in life, holding in the moments of uncomfortability, and trying to be present, trying to be engaged, trying to be mindful, but letting go while you're also there. And so at the end, you die, and then you come back to life. And so a lot of people, general people, don't know that it is an actual like physical representation of life, and moving through the challenges, and dying and being reborn. And we do this every day. And so I love yoga. If you want something that will change who you are, it will lay you out, and you will be a brand new person, go to class. If you are battling with yourself internally, emotionally, find a yoga class, because it is going to be one of the most soul satisfying things I think I've done so far in my life. So
it's definitely totally changed my life. And I actually became a teacher. Asana is, I always talk about this. Asana is like the last thing that like I care about as a yoga teacher. Like I care about it, but like all the other limbs are like so important. And traditionally, and you already know this, the point of the postures, the asana, is to prepare the mind for meditation. And so then we're getting into our higher being. But yes, yoga totally changed me. And all the postures also mean something different as far as what's going on physiologically. So what's going on within the body, and also energetically, right? So like inversions might be challenging because you like control, and you don't want to change your perspective, your fear of falling. It's all, yes. So yeah. And I love that you said, yes, which I mean, yeah, I always talk about in Shavasana, after Shavasana, which is the final rest, the corpse pose. It's where our practice gets integrated. And then I'll always have people come to the fetal position, because they are reborn through the breath work, through the movement, through the intention setting. And it's all the shifts. And I love that you said it's important to smile, because last night I was like dying in the class, and the teacher, she was like, let's smile and act like we're enjoying this. And I was like, okay. But I always try to remind my students to smile too, because like you will just see how hard they're going. And I'm like, just smile, it's yoga. And you can see that their bodies like shift and relax more into the posture. So that's kind of how we can view life, right? And yoga is also like finding the comfort within the discomfort. Like
Absolutely.
I teach yin classes a lot now, and so it's holding postures for longer amounts of
Right.
time, finding your edge, and then settling into the edge. And it's like, yeah, can you find the ease within ease and effort? That is the balance of yoga, which is the balance of life. I love it.
Love it.
Do yoga.
You know what we should do when we do our spiritual, like on yours? Maybe we could talk about that one time, like break down the limbs. And that's always been something of mine that I've wanted to do, is like really break down yoga and the limbs.
Let's do it. Okay, I
I
got you
love
on
it.
the schedule. So we'll talk. Let's do that then. We'll talk about that. So tune in a couple weeks, talk by Tuesday with Lauren Calloway, and we will talk about the limbs of yoga.
I love
And
it.
it'll blow your mind.
Yeah. So yeah, I think, as we continue to move, we've been saying it takes a mental process, it takes the physical process, it takes the vocal process, it takes the imagination. There's so many levels to manifesting, and there's so many levels to allowing growth in your spiritual practice. But keeping the mind, body, and spirit moving in alignment and satisfied as much as you can is going to help keep life flowing gently. I have to say, this is the roughest beginning of the year I've had in a really long time. And I posted about it the other day and was like, this is the roughest year I've started with. But ultimately, I was like, but what this foreshadows for me is that I'm getting through this shit now. And by when I get through it, I'm going to have an amazing year. And so you're going to hit rocks. Like, ultimately, you have to. And so, like, I'm hitting them now. And I'm hopefully not going to hit too many hard ones again this year. And so it was just like, for me, that gentle reminder, like, you gotta go through this uncomfortable. You haven't been uncomfortable in a while, Lauren. You need a reality check, and you're about to hit a growth spurt. So here it is. Get on train. And I'm like, no, I'm tired. I'm tired. It's too early in the year to be like this. But ultimately, it's like, okay, well,
And time is whatever. Time is irrelevant.
but also it's the fact that getting through it now is showing me, it is allowing me to get through it now. So later I actually have a smoother sailing, and less bumps in the road. And so I'm really grateful just to be like getting through it. I'm like, get over it, and then I'm ready for my $1,000,000. Let's go. So
Right.
so I love this one. I think it was important. It's always important when we read these, because they really do align with our lives, and just the gentle reminders. This is why we're doing this every Wednesday. We're giving you this midweek motivation, because we need it. Number one, I know as a teacher, I always end up needing what I teach,
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it comes from the heart, like teaching what you know and teaching from life experience. And I love the end of this. It's talking about soon through all of this, right, through all of the lessons that show up on the job, in love relationships, in all the areas of our lives. Like, it allows us to come to a new conclusion about ourselves and about life. I am lovable. I'm creatively feeling what God and the universe have to offer me. I'm free. I can bring my full essence and energy before the world. And then with those new beliefs is when we start to change. And when we change, right, our inner frequency, our inner being, our inner vibe changes. And then our life around us changes, because our point of attraction changes, what we're calling in to us. And then that change that we are waiting for happens. And it happens as a result of our own evolutionary process, not because we waited for these external factors to change. Like, we are putting in the effort and the work to change, and having the awareness and follow through.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Just keep on loving yourself, keep on showing up for yourself, keep on doing the work to release and renew your energy, and all things that are coming for you are always coming for you. You just got to have that patience and allow it to come.
Yeah. And I'm sorry that you're having a rough start to your year. Always here to support you.
It's okay. Like I said, it's been a while, I had a pretty smooth year last year.
Your cat.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry. I
Guys,
just love our animals. They're so funny. That's why I like my dogs in there.
anyway, so it's just again for me, what came through was like you're going through it so heavy right now because you're about to hit like it's the constriction before or like I said in my first mindful business podcast, I said the energy for 2022 is the big bang. What's going to happen is we've had all this uh like bouncing around and build up of energy. And for those of us who have really dove deep in that energy of creation and expansion are getting ready to hit this big combustion, big bang kind of year. And so that was the mood for 2022 that I've been picking up. And so I see that right now I'm in this very tightly energized bubble of stress and chaos because from chaos comes magic, from chaos comes life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, even though it's very uncomfortable, very tight,
It's
very,
like the chrysalis, like before you become a butterfly. That's like what that keeps
yeah.
coming through, like when
That's
you're
yeah. So like
seeing
that's what
it.
I'm saying. It's like the big bang. It's like about to, it's all this tight, deep energy work. So that way I can have an explosive new year. And it's all happening right now to get it out of the way for what's really to come. And I've been told that there's a lot to come this year. And so I'm just like, all right, let me just hold on tight, not get my panties in a bunch and relax into it. Even if I'm overwhelmed, I'm just like, girl, you're going to get through it. Not 100% of
Mm-hmm.
the time, you get through it, right? You're still here, you're still alive, you're still moving forward. So I think of it as much as it is very uncomfortable, half the stuff I'm dealing with, I know I'm going to be okay. And I know it serves its purpose to make things better in my life. So I can only find gratitude for that, really.
Yeah. And, if it's not, I do also have a lot of uncomfortable, very hard situations going on as well. And I feel that 2022 is going to be amazing. There's numerology about the twos and everything.
Yep.
But like, we don't really grow if we're not challenged or if it's not uncomfortable. So I'm with you on that. Yeah, trust the process of change and honor it, and know that you don't have to wait for anything to happen. I love it. I love like the end of this. Let the process become living, interactive, and magical. Like let it be magical.
Yeah.
I'm always like, okay, shitty stuff really sucks. Like, and I cry a lot sometimes about it. But I turn that into a positive challenge and also have the awareness, like you said, like, oh shit, I know some really big shifts are going to happen.
Yeah.
And like, I always feel it ahead of time too. Like I, if I feel like some resistance to something, I know that there's a lesson in that. And I know that it's, I'm on my way to like breaking myself open, or I'm on my way to just a new being, like rebirthing a new version of self. So honoring the process of spiritual growth, whatever phase you're at, if you're the caterpillar, if you're in the chrysalis, or if you're the butterfly, like just honoring where you're at.
Absolutely. I love it. So guys, and Lindsay, do you have anything else you want to share before we head out today?
No, just check out The Conduit with Lindsay Warwick. I had my first guest this week, Sarah Nicole of Twisted Goddess Tarot and Twisted Goddess Crystals. We talk about tarot, astrology, crystals, and her spiritual journey. And so I'll be having a new guest every Tuesday. So check that out. And I'm just happy to be here this morning and share Journey to the Heart with you. And I'm already excited about next week. Like this, I love our conversations about this.
Yeah. And I want to say great job on your first podcast with your your new venture with that side of it and having
So
guests.
scary.
It was great. No, you guys did a great job, and it was very informative and fun, and you just so energized, and it was great for to start with a full moon too as well. It's a good omen for you. So but yeah, I look forward to this every week. It definitely that motivation, it's needed. And I love that we're here supporting each other in this. And then we're also supporting others on their journey as well. So thank you for taking time with me this morning. For once, we're actually shooting it in the morning.
I know.
I'm Lauren with RW Business Solutions on Instagram, or Calloway for President. We do this every Wednesday. I have the Mindful Business Life. You can catch this on that podcast on Spotify and other business talks as well. We look forward to talking to you guys next week. Have a great day.